Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I am L to the W. I'm an avid car enthusiast, a YouTube vlogger, and a disabled veteran. At one point in time, I was active duty for military police. I got out, I landed a job at a dealer doing detailing. And then after that, I was in school for criminal justice. When I finished all that up, I kind of did some detailing on my own. I did some boats, planes, cars, a little bit of everything. And then I went back active duty and finished out my time. So I do have a few years under my belt of detailing. I had a viewer ask me about polishing a car, and this is something I've been wanting to do anyhow. So first off, before we get started, you're going to kind of have to figure out what are you looking to do. If your car is oxidized and stuff like that, you're going to need either like a compound or something like maybe like this, like a cleaner wax, to try to get some of that oxidation out. But let me just, if your paint's in good shape and you got like a fairly new car, please stay away from cleaner waxes at all costs. They have compounds and stuff in it, and you'll most likely end up with swirls and stuff in there that you're not going to like. If your car does have swirls and things like that, you're going to be looking at more of something like a polish, something like this type of glaze, things like that, and other types of machines and equipment to try to take that out, such as like a high speed or a faster random orbital to do that. If your paint's in really good shape, then you can use something kind of wax. This is a really nice product by Meguiar's Ultimate Liquid Wax. This stuff goes on incredibly easy. It leaves a tremendous shine and it comes off very easy. There's other waxes that are good. I'm trying to think. Meguiar's made one that I used to use commercially. I think it was called like Yellow 66. I did it commercially, so I bought it by like the gallon jug. But it's a good light carnauba. It went on easy and it came off fairly easy. And it lasts a lot longer than what that does. The shine probably wasn't nice, but it left a nice shine. There's other carnaubas. You'll see them in cans or other products. And carnauba's fine. Just bear in mind that carnauba, especially the stuff in the can, is a very hard wax. It's very oily. You're going to have to put it on in very small sections and work to get it off. If you have things like high humidity, it's going to fight you and it's going to be a bear. So you might want to be careful on some of the harder carnaubas. And carnauba is also very oily by nature, so for a few days you will see some swirl marks. It's the oil that's in the wax. So if you're taking your car to a show or something like that, you might want to do it a couple of days in advance. There's also we have glazes. Like here we got Meguiar's. You use a glaze actually before you wax if you really want your paint to look nice. Go ahead and coat it with a glaze and then throw a wax on there and then give you like a really deep, nice shine. So on the topic of swirls, let me just explain a little the way the paints are now. They're a base coat, clear coat. You've probably heard of clear coat, but maybe never heard of it referred to as like a base coat, clear coat. Basically, your paint's laid down. The color is applied to the car and then several layers of clear. So you go around scratching that clear, what happens is the sun comes in, hits the paint and reflects back, and when your clear is uneven and stuff like that, it's what gives you those swirl marks. So that's kind of a difficult thing to fix unless you have some experience with a high-speed buffer. But hopefully your paint won't ever get that bad. Just through regular maintenance and things like that, you can go ahead and keep it clean. I did a video on using a clay bar to prep your surface. If you've never heard of it or seen it, check it out. But basically, through time, mostly new cars suffer from it bad because they're shipped on car carriers. They're sitting out on the dealer lot for a long time and not washed regularly. They're shipped on trains and stuff like that. And you get material, basically like fallout, that gets stuck to the paint. And if you take a soapy hand and rub your hand on your paint, you can kind of feel little bumps in the paint. Now, you don't want to try to buff that stuff out. The clay bar will remove that and give you a tremendously smooth feel. So I'll leave a link at the end of this video and one of the cards to that. So you might want to even look at that before you start that. So next, I'm going to show you the equipment that you can use to do this. Okay, so just to touch up before I do, compound for oxidation. polishes to remove the swirls and scratches from compounding, glazes to give you a deep finish, but glazes don't provide any protection like a wax does. And a wax is something that gives you car shine, but also gives it protection from things sticking to it like bugs, bird droppings, and things like that. So basically you have kind of like 4 options if you're going to wax a car. Number 1, and the safest way, is by hand. You take a wax pad and some wax and you just put it on by hand. The next step to that would be something like this. You can buy in any Harbor Freight, any auto parts store, and that. It's called just a random orbital. They have foam buffing pads that you can put on here, as well as these really soft fiber ones. So basically you just wrap the pad on here. You put the bonnet, let me just go ahead and do that. Sit it on a workbench like this, go ahead and wrap your bonnet on here. What I've always do is take my extension cord through the handle here, tie it in a knot, kind of, and then plug it in, so that way you don't run into the problem with it just unplugging on yourself, because there's nothing really to hold it. So basically for the random orbital, you're just going to put a little bit of wax on there. You want to hold this cord up maybe like that, put it over your shoulder to keep it from dragging on your car. Just kind of hold it up a little bit, hit the button, and then just like that, just move it all over the car and you'll get it waxed. Now like in this car here, I have badging here on the side, on the fender. You want to avoid, let's set this down. You want to avoid running this thing or any buffer over badging and stuff like that on the side of the car, because it can grab it, pull it off, especially this thing vibrates quite a lot. It can just send the things flying, and I have seen it happen. Now next thing, you got 2 out. You take a very nice soft rag and wipe your paint clean. Make sure you do wash your car before you do this. Or if you want to take the easy way, put a fresh pad on here, a nice dry pad, and you can actually use this to take the wax off. Your next option is what's called a dual action polisher. It kind of just mostly moves in a circle. It uses foam pads. You can get the foam pads in different textures. Unfortunately, this one here is kind of a compounding pad, and I'm not about to use that on my car. I just did a polish on another vehicle. I have a fiber. I did a polish on that, and the pads that I had kind of came apart during that, so sorry. I really can't give you a demonstration, but basically you have a speed indicator back here to indicate how fast this thing is going to spin. See, there's a slight random orbit to it. But, oh, sorry, it's hot. These are really good for like compounding and doing some other things, because to me this is a whole lot easier to control. It's easier to control the speed and not basically like burn through the paint. You can actually get your clear coat so hot you can melt it and take it off, like what we call burning through. You can go through the clear coat. These things are pretty safe. So if you have a car that maybe has a few minor swirls in there and you want to get them out, you can use a polish, use a nice soft foam pad designed for polishing. And I'd say keep the speed at between 1, 2, and 3. If you're new to it, probably between 1 and 2. And just go ahead and work it, and it should be fine. Like I said, when you get more advanced, you can move into compounding. This is a great handy little buffer. Very easy to use, very safe to use. Then we got the big boy here. We got the high speed. This one I'm not even going to go into any kind of detail on how to use, because these things, you can do a lot of damage very, very quickly. They do have a speed control here to control how fast it is, but it does take knowledge, and I don't think a YouTube video can really show somebody properly how to use this. You really kind of have to have a feel for it. These, you just don't lay them flat for the most part and just go to town. Usually like a little slight rolling action, tilt it a little bit, move it. These also use like a foam pad that you can put on there. And these are very soft. These here are some 3M polishing pads. And also, if you have some deep cutting, you have wool pads. I would probably never ever use a wool pad on a car again. I think they have some that are not quite as aggressive as that. To me, the last time I used wool pads, I was detailing planes and some boats like that were highly oxidized, and they were more of like a enamel type paint. It was just straight paint, no clear coat. So I really just had to get that oxidation off. You really don't kind of have that problem with the clear coat with the oxidation, like I said, because the paint is behind the clear, so you don't have that problem. So hopefully you learn something. Like I said, sorry, I've seen too many people call themselves detailers, would come into my shop and just damage cars. So I mean, unless you are experienced, I would stay away from the high speeds. You can just really damage something. Your safe options are the random orbital. Like I said, you can adjust the speed on this one. That's number one. So let me see if I can't. So this is about like what it would look like. Okay. Oh, look at that, it's even holding on to the Velcro. So these are fairly safe, they're great. If your paint is in spectacular shape and you really don't need any of the options, you don't need any of that, and readily available these things, your basic just random orbital, these are still good. I mean, you can put on wax very fast, very easy. Like I said, you can even use these to take them off. They don't really require any special skill. You just hold them flat onto the paint and work it in. If you have, like on this car, you have vinyl graphics, you can certainly wax that. That's not a problem. Stuff with the higher speed stuff, with the high speeds, I would definitely stay away from these. You can melt this vinyl a lot faster than you can the clear coat. And that too, with the vinyl, you can definitely wax it. Just as long as it kind of has a smooth feel to it. I haven't really seen any vinyl that seemed very porous like wax would do bad into it, but vinyl is just like your car paint. It definitely needs to be moisturized. It needs to be taken care of. It can dry, it can crack. I'm pretty sure you've seen decals dry up and fall off, so if you have a car like this that has stripes, it should be pretty safe. Just be on the safe side. Sample test a small part. Here on the Camaro, I have a great big piece that probably doesn't show up too good here on the camera because it's slightly darker than the rest of the car, and it takes to the polishing. Well, I've waxed it several times. I've seen some that look like a flat black. You might want to avoid that. Like I said, sample it. Do a small part before you go off and do it. This shiny stuff like this orange right here is more than fine to polish. You can even wax like this plastic. If you got black plastic mirrors, go ahead and wax them, but do that last. You don't want to get your pad all black. You'd be surprised that black plastic polishes up. Like this car here, we got these black plastic vents. Do extremely well. And like I said, use very, very soft rags. If you do a hand wax, and when you're doing this, keep your motions left to right. Avoid the circles. I learned this in doing aviation. When we clean aviation, the windshields that are plexi, we always did an up and down motion because when the sun hits it, if you do scratching, you're never going to leave little scratches, no matter how careful in that you are. Which, by the way, belt buckles off, jewelry off when you're working on cars. Make sure you have no rings. Make sure you don't have anything, keys hanging on your side, whatever, anything that can hit the car. Take that stuff off. Anyhow, I learned this stuff through the aviation plexi. Just always go straight up and down. There's no need to go big circles. So when you're putting on the wax with your pad here, so whenever you are applying your wax, just go up and down like this. Just go up and down. Alright, just like that. That's all you need to make your paint look good. I mean, there might be things like your bumper that are too small and you can go side, but just try to, like I said, stay straight lines. Like I said, when you take the wax off, just keep it straight. There's no need to go into circles. You don't want to leave that circular pattern and have all that mess behind. So, there you go. Hopefully you learned something. Sorry, it's hot in this garage. But hopefully you learned something. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you're into cars, you're into vlogs and stuff like that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. This is my full-time job now. I do vlogs every day. And hopefully if you enjoy cars and other miscellaneous crazy stuff like that, you'll subscribe, join in, become part of the L to the W Nation. So hopefully we will see you on another video and you liked and learned something from here. So thanks for watching. See you on the next one.